Greetings. Welcome to the Avon Valley Church's Thought for Today. My name is Jeremy. I'm a lay worship leader at the Church of Hyde in the New Forest. Nearly all my life I've treasured one simple short story. It's written by Paul Gallico. It's called The Small Miracle. Later it was made into a film called Never Take No for an Answer. I would like to briefly share this tale of faith with you. It is about a boy and his donkey, as you can see. In the country of Italy, there's a little town called Assisi. It's famous because St. Francis lived there long ago. If you entered by the country route, you would get entangled in oxen, donkeys, pigs, chickens, carts and people, all gathered together in a street market on the edge of the town. And among all that hubbub of jostling business, you would meet Peppino, a barefooted boy in tattered clothing, plus a great smile. Beside him will be his constant companion, Violetta, a donkey. They're sure to be hard at work, because that is what they do. For very little money, they fetch and they carry anything for anyone. They're part of the market, always there, always useful, always cheerful. At the end of each day, Peppino and Violetta return to the big barn where they rent a stable in which they live. Peppino is 10 years old. Very sadly, his mother and father, in fact, all of his relatives, were killed in a great war that ravaged their country. He had nobody to love except the beloved, loyal companion, the donkey Violetta. She was gentle, hard-working, uncomplaining and loyal. It was curious but true that the corners of her mouth were drawn upwards as if she was always smiling. Everyone loved her. Peppino too was forever smiling. Most of the people favoured him and his donkey, so much that he earned enough to pay for the stable and their food, and even enough to save a little, which they did as advised by their friendly parish priest, Father Gallico. The pair worked come rain or shine. Violetta carried 2 big pannier baskets, one on each side, so that they balanced each other. But Violetta was not just a beast of burden. She cared for Peppino and was faithful to him. No one ever bullied Peppino because she protected him. He was never lonely because he had such a wonderful best friend. At night they settled down in the straw together in the stable where they lived. Their friendship worked both ways, for Peppino fed and watered her, groomed her and trimmed her feet. He always made sure that her harness never rubbed her or made her sore. And above all, he loved her. Then, one spring, Violetta fell ill. She lost her appetite and her strength. She started to lose weight and could no longer work. She even started to lose her lovely smile. Peppino took money from his savings and called in the vet, Dr. Bartoli, who gave the donkey medicine, but she did not get better. He did his best. He could do no more, but Violetta remained ill. The vet told Peppino, care for your donkey and wait to see. She'll either pass away or, God willing, she'll get better. Peppino cried. He realized that she was now in God's hands. Would God call Violetta to heaven, or would God let Violetta stay with him? So he made a plan. He would take Violetta to the tomb of St. Francis, the saint who loved animals. He felt sure that the saint, when he heard how much Peppino needed his beloved donkey, would help her to get better and stay on earth with Peppino. Peppino knew that the tomb of St. Francis was in the crypt below the church in the town. So Peppino went to the town, went to the church, asked for permission to take his donkey down into the crypt to visit the tomb of St. Francis. But the monk on duty knew the rules. No animals in the church, he said. Besides, he added kindly, there's a narrow, winding staircase down to the crypt. You could never get a donkey down there. But some years before, just after the war, a soldier who'd been briefly stationed at Assisi had told Peppino a golden rule. If you want to get ahead, never take no for an answer. Peppino never forgot that advice, so he went to talk to his friend Father Gallico. You could ask the monk supervisor, said the father, but also note that you could avoid the stairs. There's a bricked up doorway into the crypt from the old church just down the hill. So Peppino went to see the monk supervisor, who happened to be talking to the bishop. Peppino stood back respectfully, but he could hear what they were saying. The lessons of St. Francis are so good and so true, but too few people heed them now, said the bishop. Yes, indeed, said the supervisor, but plenty of people visit the tomb of St. Francis. Our opportunity is there, said the bishop, but we need a message from the saint for the people of today. The supervisor then saw Peppino. Yes, my son, he said kindly, what can I do for you? My donkey, said Peppino, is very ill. She's my friend and work partner. The vet has told me that her destiny now is in God's hands. So I thought that St. Francis would help. He loved animals. I feel sure that if I take her to the tomb of St. Francis, he will ensure that she gets better. Oh, certainly not, said the supervisor. If we let you do that, we'd very soon have a queue right round the town with every sick pet being brought here. Besides, she couldn't get down the stairs. Oh, sir, said Peppino, there is another entrance from the old church down the hill, but it's been bricked up long ago. The bishop had been listening. You could go down to the crypt and pray for your donkey, he suggested. Oh, if only St. Francis could see her, said Peppino. She has such a lovely smile that he couldn't resist making her well again. The answer is no, said the supervisor. Please tell me, said Peppino, who could say yes? The bishop replied, there is only one man who cannot be contradicted, and he is the Pope in Rome. Afterwards, Peppino went and whispered to Violetta. Then he persuaded his landlord's son to take care of her whilst he was away. He paid for her food, and then, with the rest of his savings, he set out for Rome. He went down to the main road. He was very careful. He hitched a lift, and then another, and so he reached Rome. Then he asked the way and was directed to the Vatican, where the Pope lived. He asked the guard, please, will you take me to see the Pope? The guard looked kindly at the ragged little urchin with sticking out ears like two handles on a jug and eyes that looked like deep, dark pools. Sorry, but the Pope has no time to spare this year. Peppino remembered the golden rule of the soldier. Never take no for an answer. So he went into the square, and from an old lady he bought some flowers from the countryside. Then from another stall he bought a card and a pencil. He wrote a note to the Pope. Dear Holy Father, I need to tell you about my donkey. She needs St. Francis to see her, or she will die. Your loving Peppino. He gave the flowers to the guard and asked him to give them to the Pope. The guard called another to stand guard and went off with the flowers. He planned to dump them in a bin and return with a made-up message of thanks from the Pope. But as he looked at the country flowers, they reminded him of the village where he lived as a boy. So he gave the flowers for the Pope to a priest secretary. The flowers and their simple message worked their charm and melted the hearts of person after person up the ladder of importance in the Vatican. It was a miracle in itself, but they finally reached the Pope. He too was enchanted by the country flowers and the sincerity of the simple message. So he sent for Peppino. At the Pope's request, Peppino sat, or rather perched, on the edge of a chair by the Pope, and he told him about Violetta and her illness and her need to visit the tomb of St. Francis and about the crypt with its blocked door. The Pope listened carefully. He nodded thoughtfully. Then he dictated letters, one to Peppino's friend, Father Gallico, one to the monk supervisor of the church, with a copy to the bishop. Father Gallico was delighted when he read his letter. Peppino's wish had been granted. He admired the boy for his spirit, courage and perseverance, but he spoke gently to him. Peppino, I feel sure that St. Francis will love your donkey, and he may cure her, but he may feel that he would like Violetta to be with him in heaven. So, Peppino, you must be prepared to give up Violetta as well as to ask for her to be made better. Peppino took a great gulp. He hadn't thought of that, but he knew that St. Francis would know what was best for Violetta. So he whispered, I will give her up, if St. Francis wishes it, but I do hope she may be with me for a little longer. A few days later, Peppino and Father Gallico stood together beside the donkey as the stone mason started to break through the bricked-up old doorway. Nearby stood the bishop and the supervisor. The stone mason had just got an opening through when a portion of the bricks fell to the ground with a mighty crash. The startled donkey spun round and let fly with a double-barreled mighty kick, hitting the old arch. Father Gallico jumped forward, grabbed both the boy and the donkey and pulled them clear, just as a portion of the arch crashed to the ground with a great cloud of bricks and dust. It was the bishop who saw it first. There, now exposed in the broken brickwork of the old arch, was a small box or casket. With reverential care, the stonemason lifted it out. On the lid was a single letter, F, and a date, 1226, the year of St. Francis's death. It was a miracle. Peppino's request, the Pope's response, and Violetta's flying heels had revealed the treasure. Respectfully, the box was opened. There was a piece of knotted cord, such as might have once been a girdle round a monk's habit. In the knot was an ear of wheat. Beside it were some pressed country flowers and a bird's feather. They felt certain that St. Francis himself had put it there, these treasures in the little chest, to indicate his beliefs in poverty, love and faith. There it was, a message for today. Then the adults respectfully stood aside as Peppino led Violetta in through the doorway into the crypt. May God be with you, said Father Gallico. Peppino squared his shoulders, his head held high, his hand lightly resting on Violetta as they walked together on their pilgrimage of faith. The end.